Hey y'all, my name is Chappell, and I work here at Crosspoint at our Hendersonville campus. Now, I want to see a show of hands, actually do it, okay? How many of y'all have ever been lost before? How many? And not just lost in thought or zoned out on a Zoom call when you were supposed to be learning something, although we're all guilty of that one, but actually physically lost. Maybe you were out walking around your neighborhood and all of a sudden you didn't recognize one single house. Or maybe you were at the grocery store when you were a little kid and you got separated from your parents, like lost. Happened to me several times. Well, there was this one time when I was like 11 or 12 and my mom and sister and I went on a trip for a long weekend. And I'm riding shotgun, playing DJ, and by playing DJ, I mean I had burned a CD the night before and the CD slapped. It had everything from Maroon 5 to Usher to Tim McGraw on the CD. It was incredible. So I'm sitting in the front, jamming to my awesome playlist when I noticed that we took a U-turn. And I thought, I must have taken a wrong turn. Well, 5 minutes and 3 more U-turns later, I asked my mom. I said, Mom, are we lost? And she looked at me and she just said, yeah. So I turned down my mix CD and I asked her, well, what do we do now? And I looked at what I had with me right then, and I had my mix CD and a roll of Fruity Mentos that I'd gotten at a gas station on our last stop. And I thought, wait, well, what am I supposed to do? I wanted to help us get back on the right road and get to where we were going, but honestly, I felt a little helpless. And I think we all feel like that sometimes. Maybe when we're actually lost, we feel like that. Or maybe it's when you see something at school or on social media that makes your gut feel funny, like that not right feeling, like when you get lost. And then you just think, well, what am I supposed to do now? And for me, I get that same not right gut feeling when we talk about injustice. Now remember, injustices are things in our world that are unfair, unequal, or not right. They're the kind of things that happen to us or to others around us that make us think, wait, somebody should do something about that. And as we've learned over the last few weeks, not only does God care about injustice, but he also calls us to work with him to help bring justice. God invites us and challenges us to do something about it, to be a part of the work he is doing to make things right. And the fact that God is inviting us to do something is awesome and exciting. It may be a little overwhelming or even scary. Sometimes we think there isn't a lot we can do about the injustices that we see in the world. Problems seem too big, too messy, too scary, too close, or too far away. Things like poverty, racism, hunger, disease, these things can be so big it can make your head spin and make you not even want to try. I know I've definitely thought that before. Or maybe you think something can be done and you hope something can be done, but you don't think you know what to do or you can be a part of it. As a 7th or 8th grader, you might think, well, no one would listen to me, or we'll just let the adults handle that one. Or maybe you've already jumped in to do your part in fighting injustices. You've spoken up when you've seen something that's not right. You're working hard to educate yourself on anti-racism. You're sharing posts, you're talking about injustices with your friends, but you're getting tired because it's hard work. And if you're not, and you're just not sure if you can keep going. And all of that, I totally get. These are big things. They're hard to make right, and it's hard to keep going. All right, so now I want you to listen to me very carefully, okay? You were made for this. You were made to tackle the hard things like injustice. You are the somebody who can and will make a difference. You are the somebody to start doing something, to keep doing something, and to see changes in the injustices you see in the world around you. You were made for this, and I'll prove it to you. So in the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 12, Jesus says, "Whoever believes in me will also do the works that I do, and greater works than these will they do." So that word greater used there is translated into English from the Greek word megas. Now, on 3, I want us all to say the word megas together. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Megas. And now you speak Greek, so congratulations. And that word megas literally means greater, larger, heavier, harder. Jesus is saying, hey, you think what I'm doing is cool. When I send the Holy Spirit, you are going to do greater and harder things. You were made for the hard things. You were made to look injustice in the face and say, you've got no place here. So let's look at what the Bible says about facing injustices. So we're going to look at a book in the New Testament called James. Now, James was the half-brother of Jesus, same mom, different dad. And after Jesus died, rose, and ascended, James was one of the leaders of the early church. And he wrote letters to churches everywhere, encouraging them and teaching them, especially about injustices and how to face them. He says this in chapter 2, verses 15 and 16. Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, be warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? And I think if we're honest with ourselves here, that verse kind of stings. A lot of the time we hope things get better. We want things to get better, but that's all we do. And I mean, for good reason. Again, problems are big, scary, overwhelming, and it's just easier to hope that things will get better and scroll on to the next video. But when we do that, we are joining the hundreds of thousands or even millions of people who are doing exactly that, scrolling and moving on. And the worst part about it is that when we do nothing, we miss the opportunity God may be giving us to be a part of the answer. We already know we can do hard things, but now we have to join God and actually do them. James continues in the next verse. He says, in the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Okay, so it's a little harsh. I mean, come on, James. I really want things to get better. I really hope things to get better, but isn't that enough? James says no. He says that our faith and our actions are connected. Our response to injustice is directly connected to our faith. So if we say we have faith, but that same faith doesn't motivate us to do something, then our faith is dead, or something isn't quite right about our faith. And here's why that's a big deal, okay? Living a life of faith, being a Christian, is all about becoming more like Jesus. And when it comes to injustice, Jesus was always doing something. Always, every time. When we make the decision to follow Jesus and our hopes and wants and prayers and words turn into action, we are becoming more like the person we're praying to. We are becoming more like Jesus. He created us for this, to be the somebodies to do something about it. Not just to talk, but to act and keep acting. And when we do this, we are a reflection of our faith in God. When we do this, others around us can see God through us and that He cares about injustice too. So, here's the bottom line. When it comes to injustice, never stop doing something. When it's hard, never stop doing something. When it's overwhelming, never stop doing something. When you're tired and it feels like you're not making a difference, never stop doing something. Even the smallest change is just that. It's a change. And when there are small changes over and over in the right direction, you never know how far God will take them. God tells us in His Word in Galatians 6, 9 through 10, He says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. He's telling us don't get weary or discouraged when you're out there doing your good somethings. Keep going. And if we keep going, if we keep doing, we'll see our actions become change. When it comes to injustice, never stop doing something. I know you're probably thinking, well, makes sense, you've made a good argument, but what do I actually do about injustice? And that is a great question. This is the part where our individuality, our different personalities, passions, and interests, even who you follow on TikTok and Instagram, come into play. God calls us to be an active participant against injustices. And the best place to start is right where you are. Right now, you have a voice and influence, talents, and time. And that's all you need to make a difference and start doing something. So let's unpack these really quickly. your voice. And man, this is a powerful thing that we all have and that we all need to learn how to use. There are things that God put inside of you that only you have to say. So if you don't say them, then we all miss out. You can use your voice to speak up and speak out when you see an injustice happening, to start a conversation with a friend about an injustice that you care about. You can talk to a teacher, a small group leader, or an adult about any injustice and how they can help you correct it. You don't have to have all the answers when you speak up. You just need to start the conversation, ask questions, and be willing to learn. Next is your influence. Just like a voice, we all have an influence. Unless you live in a box and never come out of that box and never ever speak to anyone ever, you have influence. It might be in a club or team at school, a younger friend or sibling. If you know anyone and have any kind of relationship with any human on earth, you have influence. One of the best things about social media is that it gives us each a platform to share ideas and thoughts and encourage people everywhere. And a quick word about how we communicate and how we use our influence in general. Kindness is proof that you are a follower of Jesus. In the Bible, it's in a list called the fruits of the Spirit. Now, Jesus stood up to injustices, and he was kind. So be kind to each other and to yourself. Next is your talents. We all have things that we are good at and things we enjoy doing. You don't have to be the smartest, the best, the most athletic, or have the biggest personality to do something about injustice. Again, just start where you are with the things that you already do to bring about justice. This would also be a really cool time to ask people in your small group what they see in you. You may have talents and abilities that you don't even recognize. And lastly is your time. Doing one service project is great, but that's not the goal here. And remember, when it comes to injustice, never stop doing something. That means you do it daily. Make fighting injustice a habit. Keep showing up, keep giving, and keep speaking up. So remember that story before about my mixed CD and us being lost on a road trip? Well, for those of you who are worried, we eventually got there. It took a lot longer than it should have, but we made it. And once I knew we were lost, I began to think of how I could help. I used my voice to ask my mom what we could do to get us on the right road. Together, we decided to try and remember what the gas station where we got the Fruity Mentos, what it looked like. And then we began naming things from that gas station to where we were that we had passed. We tried to remember road names and water towers and left and right turns. We even turned it into a game. And eventually, one of us saw something that we recognized and stopped as soon as we could to ask for directions. We didn't have a GPS on our phone or in the car. It was wild. When we were lost, when I had that not right feeling in my gut, I started where I was with what I had and the people around me. And eventually, the turns we took, the somethings we did, set us on the right road. When it comes to injustice, never stop doing something. Keep going, keep moving forward, and remember that you were made for this. So as you go into small groups, I want you to get really practical with this. Think about your day today. What did you do? Who did you talk to? Where in your day today could you have added a little fight for injustice? Where can you do that tomorrow? And ask this question. Ready? How can you use your voice, influence, talent, and time to do something about injustice? You were made for this, and you got this.